Today's lesson, Chapter 4, Lesson 6, is on percent of a number, how to find percent of a number. This is a pretty long lesson. It's going to take us actually a few days. So don't get frustrated if you're having a hard time at first. We're going to take a look at 3 different ways that these problems are going to be approached. I want to make sure we understand each different way and we don't get them confused. I'll show you a bunch of different tricks. First, I'll show you how to do it the straightforward way, and I'll show you a few little shortcuts that might help you out. To start, one of the things you have to know, as you start moving further and further in math, you're going to notice certain words. In word problems, these words are going to jump out. I want you to start recognizing and knowing what they mean. This word of is almost always going to be a symbol that we are going to be multiplying. That word, we say something of something else, 1/2 of something, 30% of something, 1/10 of something. That of means multiply. And is almost always represents an equal sign. Of is going to mean multiplication most of the time, and is just about always going to be an equal sign. So what we're really looking at here is a problem that we know exactly how to do. All we need is to learn how to turn these words into equations, right? So 20% of 50 is really 20% times 50 equals something. We're going to rewrite that in a way we know how to deal with it, right? We know how to multiply fractions by whole numbers, and we know how to multiply decimals by whole numbers. You can do either one. Just for now, I'm going to show you how to do it with fractions, but again, you can do it just as easily with decimals. Go with the one you're strongest with. 20%. That's 20 out of 100, 20 100ths times 50. And remember, with whole numbers, we can always write them as a number over 1, right? 50 divided by 1 is 50. Now we're just going to simplify. I know 100 and 50 can both be divided by 50. So that's going to become a 1. That's going to become a 2. Again, 20 and 2, I can divide those both by 2. 10 and 1. Look how easy this is. Now when I multiply, it's 10 times 1 equals 10. 1 times 1 equals 1. 10 over 1, which is the same thing as 10. So now I know that 20% of 50 is 10. Now, let me show you how you would have done that with decimals. 20% we know is 2/10, or 20 hundredths, times 50 equals, we know how to do decimal multiplication, right? 50 times 0.2, 2/10. 2 times 0 is 0, 2 times 5 is 10. We count how many numbers come to the right of the decimal point. None in this first factor, 1 in the second factor, so that makes a total of 1. The decimal point comes right there, 10.0 or 10. Again, same answer, same problem. It's not going to change things. It's just a different way of doing it. You have to figure out which one you like the most, whether you like multiplying decimals or you like multiplying fractions. You're going to have to pick one. Now let's have you try a problem on your own. Blank is 8% of 300. I want you to fill in that blank. Hit pause now, and when you hit play, I'll show you how to solve the problem. The answer to this problem is 24. Notice that what I did is I just rewrote the problem. I made my is into an equal sign. I made my of into a multiplication symbol. 8% became 8 hundredths. 300 became 300 over 1. Very simple. I just simplified here. I could divide them both by 3. So 300 became 3, 100 became 1. 8 times 3 was 24. 1 times 1 was 1. 24 over 1 is the same thing as 24. So 24 is 8% of 300. You got that right? Good job. If not, take a look at the work and see if you did it if you got the right answer that way. See if you can spot where your mistake is. If you turned yours into decimals, you still should have gotten the same answer. You would have had 0.08, 8 hundredths times 300. This is one of those places where mistakes can happen, right? Make sure you don't put 8 tenths instead of 8 hundredths. The next problem I want you to try on your own is this one. Blank is 5.5% of 40. Hit pause now, and when you hit play, I'll show you how to solve the problem. The answer to this problem is 2 2/10, 2.2. Look at how I solved it. I did it the other way this time. This time, first I turned 5.5%. Remember, we want to make that into something that's a little easier to work with. So I turned 1/2 into a decimal, and that became 5 5/10, 5.5%. Then I turned my percentage into a decimal by moving my decimal point 2 spaces over. I had 55 thousandths times 40. Remember, if I wanted to make this a fraction, it would have been just as easy to write it as 55 over 1,000, 55 thousandths. It's the same thing. Go with what you're good at. 55 thousandths times 40. When I multiplied those, I got 2 2/10. There were some extra zeros, but I just chopped those off to make it look a little bit nicer. If you left those zeros on there, it's still totally okay. Remember, it's the same value. It's just a little more clunky carrying those zeros around. So our answer here, 2 2/10, 2.2. If you got that right, great job. If not, go back, look at your work, see if you can spot where you made your mistake.